are periods? Blah, blah.
So, Mimi, what do you have to say about it?
No.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Code Crimson Chats. I'm Ankita, and here with me is my sister Anuja. Today, we talk about period myths and what we think about it. The first period myth being periods are impure or dirty. As for me, I think it's absolutely not. It's a very regular biological process, and maybe it's more socially constructed rather than rooted in biological reality. And as a doctor, I know it is a sign of normal, healthy reproductive function.
For sure, for sure. I couldn't agree more. When I read or when I hear that periods are impure and dirty, the first question that comes to my mind is, it is dirty and impure to who? Because none of the menstruators that I have met or know, and being a menstruator myself, none of us think that it is dirty or impure unless we are talking about staining our favorite underwear. That is the only context in which we think that it is dirty per se. But in no other context do any of us think that they are dirty or impure. And adding on to a more scientific version or a more biological definition of period blood, it is actually the shedding of uterine lining that is filled with stem cells that are essentially used in a lot of medical research and also treatments. You will know more than me about the stem cell therapy in cancer treatments and so on. So I don't understand the tags that period blood often gets.
Yeah, that's very true. And in fact, since you said that it's a very natural biological process, so this brings me to my second myth, or to our second myth rather, which says that, because it is impure, the menstruators are not allowed in temples or kitchens. And I have read that, if a menstruator touches the cow becomes infertile. So there are a lot of things, a lot of myths which are revolving around periods. And you remember the other day we were even discussing about one of the comments that we had received in one of our posts that women are not allowed in temples because there is a kind of negative, positive energy which is there. So can you elaborate a bit more about it?
Yeah. Before we get into that, it is not just temples or kitchens. There are period huts made in some parts of India and also in Nepal. Period huts, they are called period huts, where women or menstruators, when they get their periods, they are expected to go live in those huts, and they are in very questionable conditions, and they are very unhygienic. And very recently, I think in 2017 or 2019, Nepal actually criminalized the whole concept of period huts. And you can imagine it is just in the 21st century that such a law was passed, and it was not even like 10 years ago. Coming to why menstruators are not supposed to go to the temple, they say that since temples are since temples manifest positive energy, and positive energy flows upwards and period blood flows downwards, it apparently clashes, the two energy clash, and that causes discomfort in the body. So that was one of the cited reasons why the menstruators are not supposed to go to to temples, not holy places but temples. Now my question is, what about other holy places like the gurudwaras? Because the gurudwaras, they do not have such rules where they are not the menstruators are not supposed to go there. And second question that I have is, what do the sadhvis do then? Because they are living in the ashrams. They are supposedly in one of the most pious places. So do they move out of the ashrams? Do they move out of the homes, of the pious homes that they stay at when they get their periods, because of the energy imbalance that happens? So these questions come to my mind, and they contradict this belief or the reasoning why it is perceived or it is said that we are not allowed to go to the temples.
Bringing on a third myth, which says exercises increase period cramps, which absolutely does not. Again, from a doctor's point of view, exercises or any physical activity, as a matter of fact, releases endorphins, which are natural painkillers, because it increases your period circulation and hence reduces the cramps. And it can be anything. It can be walking, it can be yoga, it can be swimming, anything that you like to do.
Yeah.
Again, that's a different story altogether, that we don't want to do anything during periods, or we just like to lie down. That's completely different. But the fact, when we discuss that exercises will increase your cramps, that's actually not very correct.
True. I mean, the whole empowerment around periods comes when we have a choice of what we want to do during that time or before that time, and what we do not want to do. So if our body requires rest, that should be our call. And for example, you go for gym, you go for light gym sessions while you're on your periods, and I for one cannot fathom how you're able to pull yourself to do that in spite of working about 9 to 10 hours a day. So for me, that I cannot do physical exercise at that point. But having said that, almost all my trips happen around periods, so I have no capacity to bargain in that front. But yes, that's for me, having the whole empowerment to be able, or the agency to be able to rest during that time, and not have something enforced on me, makes the whole dealing with periods a lot more easier.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, I have started going to the gym very recently. I was a couch potato at one point of time, but then things changed, probably because I do a lot of exercises. Things have helped me, but that doesn't mean that, we will. Okay.
That doesn't mean all of us have to do it.
That doesn't mean all of us have to do it.
So today we spoke about 3 myths, and we are sure that we've barely only touched the tip of the iceberg. We wish to know more about the myths that are practiced in your culture, in your society, and your part of the world. So please share with us your stories, and we love to explore and dive into them. And stay tuned for our next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.